Okay guys, so today we're going to see the 6 ways to create the illusion of space, of 3D space in a flat surface like our paper. So what we're going to do is to divide this paper into 6 different sections. So to do that, I recommend you to fold the paper like this. If you see, you have to do it slightly and make sure that you align the borders of the paper, trying to get the same size in each section, more or less here. So I'm gonna do it here and I'm gonna do it there, excuse me. If it is not exactly the same, it doesn't matter, but try to do it as precise as possible. As you could see, I was just making some marks when I fold the paper, and then I open it and try to follow the marks that I left, like this. So roughly you have 3 sections that are more or less the same size. So I'm going to try to get them as straight as possible, and then I will also fold the paper in half. Try to do this very cleanly so that your work has good presentation. When you start making when you start folding the paper and it gets wrinkled and dirty, it doesn't look pretty well. But when you do it neatly, it looks fine. So here it is. If you want, you can also take a ruler and mark the divisions so that it is easier for you to identify the 6 sections. And today I'm not going to be working with a pencil, I'm going to be working with a color, because I think the result is going to be more interesting if you do it with a color. You can use any color you want. Make sure that you sharpen its lid and you can begin working. So now that I have the 6 sections, I'm gonna start doing them here. For the first 3, I need a horizon line, that is imaginary line that crosses horizontally my view. So very softly, guys, very softly, I'm gonna make a line here at any point of the paper. It doesn't have to be right in the middle of them or anything like that. Just look how I am making this very soft line, barely noticeable. If you can see, it's just very tiny, very light. So the first one that I'm gonna use is overlapping. You can write the title here. This is to overlap. To overlap means to put something on top of another thing. This hand is overlapping this hand because it is on top of it. It is hiding one part because it is in front or on top of the other one. So what we're going to do is that we're going to work with circles. For example, I'm going to make the first circle. Try to do nice circles. You don't have to use any tool, just with your bare hands, but try to do circles as good as you can. And then this one is going to be in front of the rest. So the other one is going to be hidden behind it. And one part of the circle is going to be behind the first one, hidden. And another one again. So if you see, this one at the beginning looks like it is in front and the other ones are behind it. That's one of the illusions when you overlap. You can make very quickly a little bit of shading here and the shading there. If you see, it's pretty fast. I'm not doing it with a lot of detail. And to have the things completely real, I should have some more details of the shading, but I'm just going to leave it like that, like just as a little exercise of shading, but not with a lot of detail. So like this. Good. This is the first. Now the second one is shading. Shading is exactly what we were doing here. Shading. In this one, you're going to make one single circle. You can make it bigger now. Notice that I don't have a perfect circle, but it doesn't matter. And in this part, I'm going to make the shading. It doesn't matter that the light was coming from this side in this case. Now the light is coming from this side in the other place. It doesn't matter. Something like this. Here you can put more emphasis in the shading, then you can do it with more detail if you want. There you are. There are some methods to create a better illusion of shading, and we are not going to see them right now. It is just for you to learn that this one creates the illusion of shading, of volume, and it is no longer a circle but a sphere. Now, the next one, we are also going to use this line that we were using before, and in that one you can start by tracing that line. Now, you are going to choose a point and try to put it close to the ends of this line. For example, I'm going to do it here. And there I'm going to make a very small circle. Like that. Now, if you want, you can use a pencil to make a straight line. If you want to use a ruler, you can do it, but you're going to make a very soft line. I don't know if you can see that one here, and another one here. Both lines end where I put my first circle. And what I'm trying to do now is to put other circles in between those two lines that I made with the pencil. This is called perspective. Perspective is an illusion where you think that the objects that are farther from you appear smaller than the ones that are closer to you. So the closer you are to an object, the bigger it looks although in reality the size is the same. So like this one. And here you can also make a little shading in each circle. Once again, we are not going to make a big effort trying to make an emphasis in shading. You can do it very fast. And if you see, that's why I am using a color, because the result looks better and faster when you use a color rather than a pencil, for example. Okay, this one is called perspective. To be completely precise, this is linear perspective. There you are, linear perspective. So all the objects seem to be like dragged into a single point. This point is called the vanishing point, and this is the horizon line. That's how you create perspective, and we're going to talk maybe about that later. For the other three, we are not going to make this line. And it is super important that you notice something. It is not only that this one is the biggest and this one is the smallest that creates that illusion of perspective, but also that this one is in the bottom of the image and this one goes up. Each circle, each ball, no, not circle, each sphere that I am creating here and is higher looks that it is more distant. And it is because every time that you do something that appears to be closer to the viewer is in the lower part of the paper. And the things that are far are away from the viewer and up in the paper. So I'm going to show you here. We are going to see another one that is placement, and this is going to help you understand what I'm saying a little bit better. Placement. I want you to see that I'm going to make very similar circles in size. I mean, I'm going to make one here. I'm going to make one here. Look that the size is almost the same. Another one here. Another one here. And the last one here. More or less, all the circles have the same size. And again, I am going to make a very fast shading in them. Like this. In all of them. Okay, so if you see, I just put them here, and even if the size is the same, this one looks to be closer to me than this one. And it is only because this one is higher on the paper. So, the higher on the paper it is, the more distant it appears to be from the viewer. And that's the exactly same thing that happens here. It is not only that these are smaller, but that each of them is in... excuse me, I was not showing you. It's the same thing that happens here. It is not only that they are each time smaller, but also that they are every time higher and higher on the paper, and that creates a distance between the viewer, the spectator, and the object. Same thing here. Even if they are with the same size, more or less, the ones that are higher seem to be behind the ones that are in front of or lower in the paper. So we have overlapping, shading, linear perspective, placement, and we are going to have also like the combination of these two that is called size. And as you may guess, that means that things that are closer look big. Like this one. And things that are far away look very tiny. And in between you have other sizes. Look that there is always a relationship between the different methods. I mean, we are using shading in all of them. We are using the placement to know that in the perspective the ones that are higher are farther. And the same thing in size here. We're going to use the shading maybe you can put a little bit of shading here. And once again, it is not only that they are shaded, but also that the higher they are on the paper, the further they see from the spectator. Now the last one is a little bit trickier, and we are going to mix a little bit of all of them, which is value and focus. Guys, just a little language hint. When you say this word in English, you read it like this: focus. No fo, but focus. Okay? So here you have value and focus. That means that the value is how pure the color is. When you have something behind, it tends to be a more gray or bluish. And the focus means that what you can see close to you is very sharp, and the things that are behind are like blurry. Let me explain here. Let's suppose that we have an object here, with its shading. Very quickly. Like this. And the other ones, the ones that are behind, are going to be less defined. So let's try to do them softer. Notice that now I am overlapping, but it is not necessary to do it, just one way to do it. But do you see that I am making less detail and I am doing it softer? That is because it looks that it is behind. And look, if I just make a couple lines here, they seem to like vanish behind. Do you see that? So we have these circles, and the farthest they are, they seem to be less clear and more fuzzy, more blurry. The first one is very strong with very detailed borders. The second one is less detailed, a little bit more fuzzy, and the last one is just like vanishing. That makes them look that they are away. So these are the different ways to create the illusion of a space or illusion of depth in a 2D flat surface like a paper. I hope that you learned and that you can do the same thing on your paper